What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cole Wellness Podcast. Today we have my friend Yohance here with us, and don't even remember what number podcast this is. Doesn't matter anymore. So we always start our podcast out with a little piece of gratitude, and today I was thinking about this principle of expansion, and not just expanding the mind, but expanding everything in life, and the fact that, like, you even being here with me today is a sign of expansion in my life that I'm grateful for, where my world was very much within a 2-hour radius of here for most of my life. And as my mind changes and, obviously earning potential and all that changes, that has expanded to the point where I have friends from all over the place. And it makes possible to connect in this way when people are traveling, and I've made some really cool friends over the last couple of years, you being one of them. We're just getting to know each other, but anyways, I heard you were going to be in town for Summer Strong and wanted to capitalize on the opportunity to get together. And you're kind of the journaling guy from the 1612 group. And so I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself. But that's one thing I'm really grateful for, is you being here and kind of just the growth and sign of, in my own life, of what that means to have friends from all over the U.S., all over the world. That's really freaking cool. So, yeah.
I feel the same way. One of the best things that's happened to me lately is just being able to have friends everywhere.
Yeah.
One, I got a couch to surf on everywhere I go.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
And then two, it's just, it's like you said, expansion. I have a whole thing I want to talk about it in reference to that. But, Yohance, everybody calls me Yohance.
Yeah.
I guess the elevator pitch here is father of 4. I used to wear a uniform for a long time. And now businessman, writer, mainly just a dude, and I'm a collector of random skill sets.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
I like that.
I find something, I get a hold of it. I like to do it for however long it needs to be done, and then kind of toss it aside. There's some that stay and other ones go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Collector of random skill sets. I like that.
Yeah.
So you go on a business card.
If I can get my hands on it, man, I would. I like to try pretty much everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially the things that you can that force you to focus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's one of those things like we talked about during 1612 a couple weeks ago, like ADD, ADHD, like the power is within you to focus.
Yeah.
It's just, how do I find a way to put that button like right here instead of in the other room,
Yeah.
Or I have to make some weird conditions. But if it works, it's not stupid. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I joke and call you kind of the journaling guy, but you have shared so many of these amazingly good prompts and questions for people to think about, talk about, write about. And we're involved in the 1612 group together. That's how we met. If people always ask, like, what is it? I'm like, I don't even fucking know what it is. It's not a mentor group. It kind of is a mentor group. It's a bunch of men and women who are interested in personal growth and who come together around fitness and emotional health and business, and it's kind of led by Matt Vincent, who's a business owner of a bunch of different businesses, and that's kind of how we all got connected. But I think one of the greatest values of the group is the people who are in it. I mean, Matt's a badass, and I love being able to interact with him. But like the walk last week, we went on a hike together, and just being able to talk with you and several of the other people, it's just such unique individuals that have come together. So if you're interested in a weird group of people to connect with, check out the 1612 group. It's growing. So
yeah, it's good, man. I mean, it's one of those things. I think whenever you can get in a position to get with people and get them to get candid, I mean, you're winning. Right? Yeah, that's the thing. Like I get a chance to get people to open up, talk, and then so talking about the expansion thing. There's this idea I've been working with. So it's like we're all given a map, right? And this map has, like, for me, maybe it only has highways. For you, maybe it has highways, byways. It's got everything.
Yeah.
And other guys just get trails.
Mm-hmm.
And then every time I have these conversations, I get a new road, or I get a map, or I get a bridge, or I get some new thing where I get to look at a concept or an idea, and that's been my new. Yeah. That's what I'm chasing right now.
Sure.
Because even when we were sitting down with Matt last week, I was talking about the girl who's doing all the tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a bunch of reasons why she wasn't tattooing anymore at a shop.
Yeah.
And they were trying to come up with ideas for, how to help her business. And in 2 minutes, one of the guys was like, hey, why don't you rent Airbnbs out and then tattoo from the Airbnb? And I was like, man, that would have taken me 3 months to come up with that, that concept.
Yeah.
And so I was like, now when I see it or hear,
what a cool idea.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and so now I see your brain turning already. He's like, well, how can I apply that to?
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, same thing for Summer Strong. You're at Summer Strong and you're around 500 people who are just not dispelling, but just giving you all the information in the world.
Yeah.
And so it's now my map has just got all this new stuff, and so it's exciting.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like neural pathways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I've been chasing that, and that's what I'm chasing the past couple months. Every time I can get a conversation, or when you said like, hey, we're going to come sit down.
Yeah.
Also, too, like, when's the last time I get to sit down with a friend? There's no phones.
Yeah.
And it's just you and I.
Yeah.
So we're here.
Sweet. Yeah. And we're not in the middle of a 230-degree sauna.
Yeah. I mean, that's fun,
33-degree ice bath, or...
That's one of those ones that gets a little weird, but it's fun.
It got weird in there.
Yeah.
I know you were a different cohort. That got weird in there.
Yeah. That's good. I experienced that the first time at Winter Strong, actually. With, Brian Peters and those guys, and man, I want my own now.
Oh yeah.
So didn't you do one here?
Yeah, we did, and it's the same company, but it has it doesn't have the wood burning furnace. It has an electric furnace, and it has the infrared, so it gets hot. I think I've gotten it up to about 2.
Yeah.
That 230 is next level though. That's I have friends that are like, dude, I've got meat cooking at my house right now lower than that.
Yeah, it's true. I smoked a bunch of chickens at 165. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So tell me about, how'd you get to where you're at right now, man? Like, where'd you grow up? Tell me a little bit about your story.
So grew up in Northern Virginia, military brat. I say Northern Virginia, but I was a military brat, so we bounced around. And so I was probably like middle school, maybe a little bit before middle school. So did that, you know, played sports, whole nine, but I was a knucklehead, so I had terrible grades. And, at the last minute, instead of trying to force myself into some D2 red shirt, get your grades right, go to a D1 school and try and play or run track, not play, but run track, it became very much a going to the Army. And I had a daughter at 17.
Yeah.
Right? And so I don't remember how it happened or what. I had a conversation with a buddy when I was really, really young after my oldest daughter was born. And I kind of realized I was going to drink or party myself out of school. Yeah. Like it was apparent, like that was the road. Yeah. Right? Of course, right? You're 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah. Like, but I wasn't going to have the maturity to like go to school, get my grades, do everything you're supposed to. And so I realized I was like, well, this whole like making a living for a child you have now is probably pretty important. Yeah. so
that's an option B.
Yeah. And so I was like, all right, we should probably do that. Because at the time in high school, of course, like I was working at AMC movie theater. Yeah. And S&K menswear, and I was sending all the money I was making to my daughter. Yeah. And I was like, this is not a lot of money. Yeah. So, anyways, joined the military, did that. Fell in love with the military fast, man. I met a guy, Eric Schmitz. He's dead now. Awesome guy. Was my mentor for years, and he introduced me to the special operations community. And it's a book called Bravo 20, Black Hawk Down, and there's one more he kind of gave me. And also, I bumped into him and at the office one day. He's a drill sergeant at the time, but so I'm going in the office. I'm trying to convince this guy to let me go airborne school. And they're like, we don't have slots to send you. And I'm like, well, I want to jump out of planes. Yeah. He's like, well, we can't send you. Yeah. So every day I would show up to his office, and I would basically piss him off to the point where he would like make me do push-ups. You know, they do this thing with like they call them rifle PT, and so these dummy rifles, and they just make me do rifle PT every day. But I just showed up every day.
Still did it.
Yeah. And so one day I showed up, and there's a guy there from 160th, which is the Army's Special Operation Aviation Regiment. And so these guys would fly all the badass guys around and do all this stuff. And he gives a brief, and he's done with the briefing, and I get to hear them talk afterwards. So it's like, you know, more intimate insight on what they do. Yeah. And I was like, this is real? Yeah. Like, I thought this was on movies, like, you know, Commando or some shit. Like, and I was sold. I was like, that's what I want to do.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. So I got hooked up with the special operations community pretty fast, supporting. And that's kind of what the next, 18 years was about, 19 years. I mean, actually, it's longer than that, because now after I got out of the military, I've still been doing it, contracting. Sure. I had 4 kids within that time.
Yeah.
They keep me busy as hell. 2 boys, 2 girls. I got a complete set. So
yeah.
And
Practice makes perfect. People.
Hey, there it is. And I was married at the time. Well, not right away, but eventually got married. That didn't end. I mean, that ended. I was a terrible husband. I always try and be very honest about that, man. It's kind of one of the things that led me to here, led me to you, led me to the podcast, contracting overseas.
Yeah.
I was not good with me.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was one of those guys at work from, the hours of 06 to whenever I got off of work, I was good to go.
Yeah.
And then once I left that office, it was a train wreck of human. And so after imploding that, that's kind of where, you have to have a get right moment.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And my get right moment took several years.
Yeah.
And so within that get right moment, I had got severely depressed. And, depression is one of those things, man, like I think until you go through it or whatever, it's weird. Like you look at it or you think about it and you're like, you're comparing, right? Especially if coming from the community I came from, you're like, this guy lost this guy lost that, this guy doesn't have a leg. Like, why am I? Like, here I am, I have this pretty wife, I've got 4 kids, I'm kicking ass at work. Like, why am I sad?
These feelings aren't justified for me.
This doesn't make any sense. And that was like the start of and I think the other thing too is kind of knowing yourself, right? Like, I bathed myself in comfort in Hawaii. Like, and not in the sense of like anything that was hard, I kind of I moved away from hard conversations. Unless it was at work, you're not going to do hard things.
Yeah.
And so,
good at doing them there.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if it's fatigue or, I mean, it's a recipe for disaster.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
So that ended up, I think it was, and I always I'm terrible with dates, terrible with my own rebirth date.
Yeah.
But I look at it as like a rebirth, man. I tried to kill myself. Lucked out.
Yeah.
Lucked out in the sense that I had a friend call, pick up a phone, and he's first words, never done this before. He still hasn't done it to this day. Was just, hey, how you doing? How are the kids? And I was just like, well, that's weird. I have a good friend of mine named Scott, who I grew up with, whose father killed himself in front of him. And one of the things about this is like I watched Scott go from like a normal, regular kid to a kid who was just destroyed into somebody, or a man who didn't get himself together until, I don't know, 30s.
Yeah.
Maybe mid-30s.
Yeah.
And if you talk to him now, he's a good guy, squared away, everything's good, but I mean, he'll tell you like,
it took a while.
Yeah. It took a whole life, And so I think the convergence of that idea and him asking about the kids was like, we're not going through with this.
Yeah.
So
man, what a blessing.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, it's still, I think it's one of those things where reflecting on it now, I look back and I go, oh, that's the moment, but it's not like it's over.
Yeah.
You're still looking at if I look at the dates, probably 2.5, 3 years of work before I was like, oh, life's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so.
It's fucking work, man.
Yeah. I don't think, again, like as a guy who looked at depression beforehand, it's like, oh, there's no such thing. It's one of those guys. Like,
yeah. It's real.
Yeah. And now I realize, I'm like, yeah, this is fucking real. we should probably help everyone we can.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of the story that kind of led me to even Matt and 1612 and everything now. Because I had a conversation yesterday at Summer Strong where I was like, I had no idea. If you had asked me 5 years ago where I'd be like sitting here talking to some of these people who I don't necessarily know why they want to share air with me. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So,
dude, it's wild. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
I know I'd heard some of that on our walk. And it's kind of like, I tell people, like, I don't wish these tragic things upon anybody that you've experienced. I wouldn't want you to have to go through it. What I've experienced, I wouldn't want anybody to have to go through it. At the same exact time, it always becomes the greatest blessing when handled in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, I would not have any of the good things in my life without those darkest times. So I'm not out there pushing people to get dark, because it gets weird over there. But at the same exact time, like, everything, like you joked about the spaceship here, all my relationships, meeting you, my wife, my kids, my family, like all of my friends, everything I've experienced is as a result of that, you know, rebirth moment for me.
Yeah.
And it's like I saw a great old video of Alan Watts talking about the principle of yin yang, and how, you know, and it was two fish, and he's basically talking about, you know, the white fish, the assumption is that we want to consume the darkness and get rid of it, except for the light doesn't exist without that.
Yeah.
It can't exist without that. And it's like the good things in my life couldn't exist today without that.
I think about like cooking all the time. It's agridulce, right? It's sour and sweet. Like you don't get one without the other. And if you did, like, would you really want it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That episode of it's Alfred Hitchcock, I think it is, where they talk about where the guy he's in a casino every day. He's playing. He's winning. He's got all the drinks, all the girls he wants, everything else. And then after about like the fourth or fifth day, he's just miserable. He's tired. He's, you know, doesn't know what to do with himself. And it kind of ends with the guy being like, you know, I never thought heaven would be like this. And the guy's like, this ain't heaven.
Yeah.
You know, I think about it
this
a lot.
ain't it.
Yeah, this ain't heaven.
Yeah.
I mean, much the same. Like, that's kind of like what I think in certain aspects Hawaii was for me.
Yeah.
I love that place. I want to go back. That's my intention to go back. But
sure.
Like, as far as like how I was living and how I was thinking, doing, and acting, like, that's what it was. It was
yeah.
like, I'm only feeding these hedonistic, you know, things, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
It's powerful.
I'm the same, man. I think that it's funny you said that. Like, no, I don't wish you to go through everything, but you know, we said it a lot. You know, my buddy Apollo's here, and one of the things that we continuously said this weekend is like, sometimes the cure is in the sickness. And you think about it, like you're here in your gym. You know, if you get injured, it's typically not guarding that helps you. It's typically that it's like moving into it, and that doesn't mean fast.
No. Yeah.
But
that's a slow process.
Yeah. If you can't squat because you have knee pain, it's typically not staying away from squats that helps you.
Yeah.
So
yeah. What does a physical therapist do? Not make you comfortable. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, I value that probably a little too much sometimes, but you know, it tends to make people better.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, what are you up to these days?
So right now, writing a book. Right now, I'm calling it On Borrowed Time.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, it's 150 pages just right now. That's the goal. And I just want to get that done. I want to get it out, man. Like, 'cause I was thinking about it. I try to help as many people as I can.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if there's some sort of metric to that, but I do know, like, I spend a considerable amount of my time helping people.
Yeah.
And as I talk to more people, like Brandon, Lily, Matt, and you know, convincing me to, like, hey man, share this, or just even my normal acquaintances and friends and everyone. It's like, how can I do this in a more efficient fashion?
Yeah.
Right. As George said, you know, he was like, yeah, you're the kind of guy that needs to be in front of people.
Yeah.
Like, people don't tend to
know.
Oh,
for sure.
Yeah. He's like, people don't tend to get the same message from you until they meet you. And so, while I would love that, how can I reach more people?
Sure.
And so the answer was, I can also move into this space that I quietly for the last 30 years have wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up as a kid who liked to read and liked to write, and somehow 40 years later, I'm trying to call myself a writer now. So that's the big thing, man. Getting the podcast off the ground. I've been threatening for a long time to do this, and finally got a good idea, space, format that I can work with that I'm happy about, where, I could spend an episode ranting by myself, and then I can spend an episode talking to people like you and everyone else. And so those are the big things, man. And just always like, how can I help? Where can I help? I think is where I want to move to. Apparel's on hold right now. We'll start doing apparel again, hopefully in the next like 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We got a lot of great stuff waiting.
Yes.
But yeah.
Dude, I like all the stuff that I've seen. I'm jealous of Elliot. I always see him in your shirts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get some.
It's funny, man. Like, I don't know. World's weird, man. It's like right as we're starting to get a little bit more popular, put everything on hold. Wanted to change some branding.
Yeah.
And I told you about some of this, but just to share with everyone. I was finding myself on podcasts, and the questions were always about like dark stuff. And we talked about dark stuff, but I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah.
But some people, I think that's all they wanted to talk about, and I realized it's like, hey man, like I also like to talk shit and joke.
Yeah.
like there's a whole other side of things. Like life, as shitty as it can be, it can also be really awesome.
Oh yeah.
And I think we sometimes, and I know I felt this personally, is like sometimes like you're doing well, or you're feeling so well, like you don't want to share it because there's somebody out there who's like they're jacked up.
Yeah.
But then I try to remember, like, there's a quality there to where if you're doing that same thing, people are like, holy shit.
Yep.
And you're leading. And you're not necessarily gloating. You're like, you're an example. And you want to be. And I think that's something to say as well, man. Like, hey, I was fucked up. Sometimes I'm still fucked up.
Yeah.
And then today, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I think that man, there's so much contained within that, but I think that there's a lot of power and transparency of the entire story, as far as the good and the bad. And, earlier you talked about that comparison point of, even with depression, it's like, well, I shouldn't feel this way because there's other people that really have. I would imagine if I was in their shoes, that would be justified to feel the way that I'm feeling right now. But in my shoes, I'm not justified. And it's like, man, that comparison is in both directions. You know what I mean? Like I can spend my whole life saying, well, my life's shittier than this person over here, or my life's better than this person over here. And when we're constantly comparing, we're missing out on this opportunity to just share the most unique thing that we have, which is just the experiences that we have. It's the only, you are the only one that has that story. There are parts and pieces and components. So the good, the bad, and the ugly of it is used. Like, I love that your motivation is to help others, because to me, what I found very much so is the only justification that I found in that darkness for me is the gift, and that not only is today it's okay, but that it's being used to benefit the lives of other people.
Yeah.
Like, what? That's badass.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. Like I think the more, again, I'll say it again, and I'll probably say it 3 more times in this thing. Like the cure is in the sickness sometimes, and I can sit here and get well, and that's awesome, right? Like I have 4 kids I need to be awesome for, right? But, and the same thing for my community, right? As far as like the special operations community, and even just men right now, right? Like men are suffering right now. The rates for suicide are out of control. So it's like, how am I helping? And if I'm not helping, my dad had this thing he used to tell me all the time when I was little. He's like, sometimes you have to make it your business to make fires.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
I like that.
If I had that ability, and I've been told that, but of course, you brush it off. Somebody says like, hey man, when you say something, people listen. It's like, okay, whatever. I hear you. And then, now I'm in a position where it keeps happening more and more and more. So I'm like, well, I can keep this to myself. It does no good for anyone. But every time I share it, I see a change. I see a help. And that's what I want to do. So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's, I think that's the magic, or where we should be, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm reminded, I had a grand sponsor at one point that was like, I was sharing about how much better my life was getting because of just that process of like cleaning my life up. And, I was probably 2 years clean at the time. And I was like, opportunity for me to get well is so amazing. And he's like, this isn't for you. The universe doesn't need you to be fucking well for you. Like, the whole point here is that other people are going to get well because of you.
Yeah.
And this isn't like a egotistical thing. It's like, these things aren't happening. These good things aren't happening just so that we can enjoy them. Like, there's a purpose behind it. That, at least the story that I choose to believe, is that so other people can get well too.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time getting other people sick. And so I got, not that I have anything to make up for, which I do, but I just think that that's just, it gives purpose and meaning behind it, that, this isn't for me. Like, all of this that's going on is only available to me because there's other people that need to hear and change and improve lives.
Yeah, there's a book called The Go-Giver, and it's a business book, and it's just about giving and how giving can kind of lead you to a better place from a business standpoint. But every time I think about the book, or I reread the book, it becomes more and more just about life. Like, if you don't know what your gift is, or you don't know if you don't have anything to give away, it's like, give away your time. Right? Sometimes you can't even give away your time. Give away your ear. Right? Like, it's just, there's some redemptive power in that, and I think we're all better off for it. Even this weekend at Summer Strong, man. Like, I think one of the biggest things there is you are just witnessing people give their story, their time, their expertise, their ear. You see, like, one of the things that Bert and actually, we have to go give Bert that copy of the book. He's the definition of go-giver to me, right? Because he's a guy that wants to get people together, and he walks away, and it's pretty fucking cool, to be honest with you. But just in that spirit, man. Again, like, I don't know how to like cap it off, because I can keep talking about it. But it's just like, if I can help in any fashion, and I tell people this all the time, and I think they just kind of look at me like, oh yeah, sure, this is what people say. But and I think we've talked about it before on the side. Like, I look at friendship as like a premium service. Yeah. Right? Like, it's one of those things, like, you pay for. Like, some things are free, but you pay for. And that might be the fact that, like, for me, I pay for it in the terms of, like, when you call me or you text me, it's 2 a.m., unless I'm just unconscious, which I'm never really unconscious. I'm gonna text you or call you back, and I try and make sure I do that. And if I don't, I'll be the first to be like, hey, man, I'm sorry, I was this, that, and the third. But it's also a thing for me where I don't recognize it in other people, because I look at it like it's a premium service. I don't have very many friends. I have lots of people that I call buddy and acquaintances, and I still care about them. Sure. But, like, if you're my friend, I am willing to, I'll burn it down. I'll burn down a gas station for you. You call and be like, hey, man,
that shit's expensive right now.
Exactly. Like, hey, we got to do something. And it's like, okay. Yeah. Because, again, there's another thing that's, I think, rare in life is having true good friends. It's no knock on the people that aren't your friends or your acquaintances or anything else, but, like, it's a big difference between somebody I call a friend and somebody that I'm, I'll call a buddy. Yeah. And regardless, for me, I'm willing to help, but it's just a different level. Yeah, it's a different level, different tier. So yeah, and there is an investment. There is, you do pay for that. And I think it's important that you do. It wouldn't be worthwhile. It's that balance that we just talked about. Like, our friendships are worthwhile because we invest in them and they invest in us. And as I've gotten older, that path has definitely gotten narrower and a little bit tighter. There was a time where I thought I was friends with everyone. Man, I'm reminded of about, 10, 12 years ago, I had a guy in outpatient treatment, and he was like, he was me at 22 years old, and he was trying to get clean, and he was like the man. He knew everybody, and he showed up to group one day, and he was under the influence, and I couldn't keep him in group. And I'm like, you're going to have to call somebody to come pick you up. This is 11 o'clock. I watched that man call 100 people. Nobody would come pick him up. We're already high. I ain't coming to some treatment center to come pick you up. Like, whatever it is, I'm busy, I'm asleep. That's it, man. Nothing, And
And I had this group of, I still do, I have this group of, like 5 guys that were on a text thread, and these were my, if we need to bury a body and stay quiet about it, these are my dudes, right? And that same exact day, my wife texted me and was like, hey, Mom's got a flat tire on the other side of town. We don't live over there. Nobody I know lives over there. Just randomly shot a text. My buddy who was working in the pharmaceutical industry literally was a quarter mile from her and didn't even respond to me.
Just went.
He just went. And 3 minutes later, I got a text message from my wife's mom saying, that they were able to help or something like that. I think it was my mother-in-law. I don't know. Julie can correct me on that. But either way, whoever it was that was stranded, somebody showed up for them within 3 minutes. And it was like this comparison point of the difference between acquaintances to me and true friends that are like available to put in that investment. And it was like I left work that day just like, wow, I've got something really special with some people,
I think that's the biggest thing to remember or to know is like the same thing, man. I had tons of friends, right? And then when I went through everything in 2017, 2018, it was just like, where are all these people? Like, who's around?
Yeah.
And no fault to them. Like, thank you, right? It's thank you for showing up. Thank you for not showing up.
Yep.
Right? Because now I have a better perspective on everything. I know who my friends are. I know who the guys I can call, and if I need something, and they know vice versa. And I told the same thing to Matt. I was like, it only takes 6 people to carry a casket.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
So if my friend group is that, I'm more interested in when someone gets up to speak or they meet someone who knew me when I was alive, speaking as if I'm dead, but like, whenever that day comes, I would much rather that they be like, hey, sit down. We had a long conversation to have, instead of being a room full of people. I'd rather picture that. So if I can continue to try and impact people and make sure my friends are good, I'm good.
Yeah, that's powerful. How are we looking on time?
30 minutes.
Awesome. Plenty of time. Man, I just had a question. I need to start writing shit down. So we talked about the apparel, the writing. I think that's so interesting. You and about 3 other people that I know have recently kind of taken ownership over that. I'm a writer and claiming it and leaning into it and recognizing like this is something I've kind of always done, but maybe never stepped into that narrative of I'm an author, I'm a writer. Yeah. This is who I am.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful to see people do that, because I'm a big believer in like the who was it that I stole it from? The Ty Lopez or one of those guys talking about the Illyrian destiny, the 4 questions you ask yourself when you're trying to figure out like, what am I supposed to be doing? And one of those questions is, what have random people complimented you on? Huh. So not friends and family, not mom and dad, but what have when you randomly have people that tell you, man, people need to hear your story. That we need to hear you talk. When you write, it's powerful. When random people are saying this thing, that's normally in the pathway of our, Illyrian destiny or whatever. Yeah. And I'm seeing so many people step into that and be highly successful with it just because they take ownership over it instead of just sitting back and for years writing and being like, well, I'm not a writer. Like, so I think that's awesome to say, no, I'm a fucking writer.
Yeah. That's what I do. Man. So I joke around sometimes, like everything I ever needed to know in life, I learned in the weight room.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean is, as your journey in fitness or however it happens, like you start to become things, right? Whether that's bigger, stronger, faster, leaner, whatever, doesn't matter. And as that change happens, you kind of just let it happen. And so it didn't hit me until probably in the middle of this like bodybuilding prep I just did.
Yeah.
And just kind of the idea of like, let it change you, let it change you, let it change you. And I realized, but that's what I've been doing this entire time.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to run a marathon. ran a marathon. It changed me.
Yeah.
You know? And then it was like, well, that's all good and well in fitness, but how do you have that happen in life? The same thing. I became a soldier. Let it change me. Went airborne. It changed me. Special operation. It changed me. War changed me. You know, become a dad changed me. And then, so leading or trying to tie it off is like, I keep saying I want to write. But I keep dodging the identity. Right? I'm not a writer. I'm just messing around.
I'm writing.
Yeah, I'm writing. There's 250 words I have to get done today. You know, and then finally just going like, fuck it. Let it change me. I'm a writer. And so about a month ago, 2 months ago, I just stopped being like, oh. I even went on Instagram and it says like, a blogger, whatever, all the little titles you can put in there. And I changed it to writer.
Nice.
Because I was like, all right,
we're going to own this.
Yeah, we're going to, yeah. And it's like, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it. I have to commit. I have to go and be like, all right, hey, look, this is the thing that I am. This is the thing that I'm doing. And I'm going to let it change me and become a writer. So we're here, and
sweet,
we're trying to get it done, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look forward to it, man.
It's been good so far. I mean, I've had, I talk a lot about this book. There's a book called Comfort Crisis with Michael Easter, and he's been super helpful.
Yeah.
Answers all my questions, my incessant nonsense questions, and he fields them and answers them, and he's like, so one of the things now is kind of picking specific subjects and writing about them, because I can write in the tone in which I can write it, and I know that, but it's also like picking those boundaries or taking the limiters off, let's say it like that. Like, you ever write something or go to say something and you stop yourself because you're like, how is this going to be received?
Yeah.
Or is this dumb? And that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like, well, fuck this. Like,
just go.
Yeah, and if it's gonna be dumb, it's fine, right? I have to risk being dumb to learn. I have to risk whatever, fill in the blank, in order to kind of grow, and that's fine. And that's it's kind of where I'm at now. It's not exactly everyone's favorite cup of tea, but I'll say something, it's offensive or it's wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
You find really quick, working with computers a lot more. And I heard a saying, people will correct you before they tell you you're wrong or tell you what the answer is. And so I found that to be very true. And I'll do it all day long. Yeah. Yeah. Like if you ask a question, silence. If you put out an answer,
they'll tell you you're wrong.
They'll tell you you're wrong. And then they'll tell you how you get right.
Yeah.
So that's something else I'm just kind of doing. I'm going to start saying things, and then we'll figure it out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. So where do you want to put it? Like, where are you going to start sharing your writings more? I see what you do on Instagram and on the Discord. And
so Instagram's kind of got out of control. I've been sharing a little too much writing on there, meaning like it should go. We're going to start the blog back up. Actually, when I park my truck tonight, I'm restart the website and the blog, and do a weekly blog at least.
Nice.
And, try and dig in there, and then when the book's done, we'll shop it. And if nobody picks it up, like we talked about last week, man, like you're in control of your own dreams.
That's right.
I have a website. I can put this fucker on the website as soon as it's done.
Yep.
That was a big one for me over the past couple of weeks. I saw that podcast episode we talked about during the walk, and you guys weren't part of the walk, so I'll just share it. Like, there's an episode of I believe it's called Up in Smoke podcast with, and they had Damon Dash from Jay-Z Rockefeller Records fame, and I'm not a fan of this guy. I don't like him at all, but he comes on this podcast and basically takes over and asks these guys like what their dream is. And as they're talking about what their dreams are, they're all kind of like shying away. Hey, he's like, I'm living my dream right now. And Damon Dash is like, no, you're not. And he's like, if you are living your dream, cool, mission complete. Like, what's the next dream?
Yeah.
And he's just still shying away, and finally gets it out of him. He's like, I want to be an actor. And he's like, well, look at all these cameras and situations you have set up here. It's like, why aren't you an actor? Well, I need somebody else to come in and do the script. And he's like, No, you don't. You got a camera right here. You can be the actor right now. So he gets up, basically stops the podcast, and he's like, I want you to argue with him about why you guys like the same girl or something. And he's like, action. They do a 2-minute scene, and he's like, cut. And he's like, dream complete. What's your next dream?
Yeah.
And I thought it was super awesome because it was like, holy shit. How many times have we, either in coaching or with ourselves, been like, I have this dream, but you put all these parameters on it, which you didn't actually say.
Yeah. Never actually said them.
You never actually said them. You never actually meant it or wanted it. The dream was to be a writer. And like mine is, I want to write and help people. I haven't put any extra parameters on it. I haven't said 1 million people. I didn't say I want to sell 1 million copies. I just want to help as many people as I can with my book. Okay. I'm going to get that done. I don't know. I hope that it's a publisher that does it because they've got a leg up on how to do that thing.
Yeah.
If not,
They've been doing it.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a while. So if not, though, I have a website. I've got Instagram. I've got other ways to market and help myself. You know?
Yeah.
So we'll get it done one way or another.
Yeah. That's really cool. Well, and that also makes me think about like how every single one of my dreams, like it's important to verbalize those parameters. I fight windmills in my head all the time where I'm my worst enemy, and I'll think of something that I want to do, and then I'll come up with 1 million reasons why I couldn't or shouldn't do it, and it never comes to pass. You know? So, A, we've got to talk about those things, and then B, we just have to move in that direction. Like, you don't need a publisher today. You don't need all of these long-term outcomes today. We just need to own that I'm a writer and act as if, you know?
Yeah. You find like act now. You just keep going until you hit a roadblock. You hit a roadblock, you figure it out. Hit another roadblock, figure it out. And the other thing too, man, like, you know, we get a lot of complaints about like social media, but how beautiful is it that I can reach out to somebody who doesn't live in my town, in my city. They might be busy, like Michael Easter.
Yeah.
Michael Easter's running around the Middle East right now.
Yeah.
And I DM him and he answers.
Yeah. That's wild.
You know, I'm like, hey, how do you handle this situation with writing? Or, you know, Matt, when I started the apparel company, hey, I did a pre-sale with 6 shirts. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
Yeah.
Instead of, like we just said, like you put a windmill in your head, next thing you know, like, these are all the 30 million reasons why I shouldn't do this thing.
Yeah.
Instead of the one why I should.
And
I mean, I think more and more, if we can target ourselves and then target our friends, which is why 1612 is such a great thing.
Yeah.
Or even like you said, man, like a text thread with 5 of your best friends who are interested in you being the best you possible. There's not a lot of things that are more powerful than that.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
So
absolutely right. It's also fun because it gets real weird.
I mean, that's the best part.
That's the best part.
That's the best part. Like, if I can, I mean, man, like, as I hope no one ever finds my text message threads with my friends.
Oh, dude, Scott, burn my shit. If something ever happens to me.
We're all going to hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, man, I think that's a super awesome thing. And, you know, I was talking to Apollo last night, to kind of change gears. I mean, same, but different.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is my favorite thing on the planet.
Same, but different.
Yeah. that movie. Wow. But there's a lot of narratives you hear right now, right? Like, there's these narratives about men, toxic men, whatever. Narratives about how bad the world is. And then I'm at an event like I was last night. It's not what I see. And I was telling Apollo, I was like, there's got to be like 2 to 3 answers that why this is the way it is. It's like, one, maybe it's the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? Or maybe it's the people that are doing, sharing, creating, or not. They're not sharing. Maybe that's what it is. Is they're doing, and they're acting, and they're creating, and they're not sharing, and they're not being the squeaky wheel because they're fucking busy.
Yeah.
And they're busy trying to help, which I don't necessarily know if it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we should scream more and share more, you know. But what I do know is, you know, again, it just kind of goes to me, like, I can look at all the fucked up things that are on social media, but I can also look at it and go, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
I would not know JP today had that not happened. I would have not been at Summer Strong and met 500 people who are all looking to move forward. You know, like I'm thinking that's, dude, at the end of the day, you look at something that's powerful.
Yeah.
500 people that are growth oriented, whether it's because of strength or a book or whatever.
Yeah.
All in one room. And yet you're telling me that there's this problem. I don't see it.
Yeah. I don't see it. So. That is a really cool point. I saw a thing on Instagram earlier, and the guy was basically saying, like, everybody's in their own different universe. You know, if you and I were in two different cars driving through a town, and the example he gives, if you're hungry, you're going to see all the restaurants. If my car's making a noise, I'm going to see all the mechanic shops. You know what I mean? We're in two different worlds. And it makes me think about how, you know, with where I'm at today, there was a time in my life where I thought everybody drank and used drugs just like I did. Why was that? Because I was at the only 24-hour bar every night. You know, like everybody there did. But there was another couple 100,000 people within, you know, not too far from there that weren't doing that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know them because that's not where my mind was. That's not where I went. And same thing now, like, you know, you talk about masculinity being portrayed a certain way. It's like, man, the places that I go I'm surrounded by, like Jordan Peterson says, I'm surrounded by fucking monsters that know how to control it.
Yeah.
And they're highly emotional, and they're highly loving, and they're highly empathic and compassionate, and not at all when I see the news about things about what men are of today. You know?
I mean, I'll give you a great personal example. When I was being a shitty, terrible husband, right? Guess what all my friends were?
Yeah.
And if they weren't, they weren't the kind of friends who would say, go the fuck home.
Yeah.
Right? They were the kind of guys that were just like, I'm going home, but I don't go tell him shit.
Yeah.
Right? Where for me, in my world, a good friend is the one who says, go home. And if you don't, I'm still going to love you tomorrow. I'm going to tell you you're a fucking idiot. But I'll still love you tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah.
Not the friend who goes, don't say shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know? So I think that's super important, man. And I don't have a lot of gifts, I'd say, right? You know, I joke that one of my gifts is like I can suffer, and I suffer well. But one of the things I do know, and I'm starting to realize that a gift I do have is like I get to see that people's shared reality isn't shared reality.
Yeah.
And it's been helpful for me to like connect people and talk to people and be like, hey man, like that's not what that guy sees.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just talk to him, you know, and because my community, friend group is so diverse, you know, like I get to be the guy that says like, hey man, I use this reference to Overland Park, Kansas all the time because I got a friend who's probably got the wildest ideas on the planet, right? Like he's not the guy you bring to a party.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that, right?
He's not going to be received well.
Yeah, not going to be received well, no matter what. Right? But when you talk to him, it's like very apparent he only knows this. And it was one of the first times in my life where I was like, oh, you don't see it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I started talking to other people and I was like, oh, you don't see it either.
Yeah.
And I was like, why do I see it? And I was like, oh, I'm not invested. One.
Yeah.
I have no investment here. But then to be able to be like, hey, I can talk to both of you and kind of like smash you into each other. So maybe you have some semblance or some small understanding that like, hey, we don't all do that. Like you just said, like, you know, you're over here at this bar. This is the only thing you know, and it's the only thing you care about. And why would I?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been a thing I've been trying to figure out how to integrate more into my life and, you know, with friends and everything else. And sometimes it just comes in the form of like challenging conversations.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm constantly the guy that's pissing my friend off.
Yeah.
But hey, that's what we'll do.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I know you got a pretty long drive today. You're heading back?
We're going to head back and we're going to eat first.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to eat and then head back and then back to the, I won't say grind because I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm super lucky.
Yeah.
There's a thing we talked about a couple of weeks ago on the call, or just in general on the walk. Actually, we didn't talk about it on the call. On the walk, I've been kind of obsessing about, like, you know, is time moving fast or am I not paying attention? Because sometimes you get around a group of people and they're like, oh, time's moving so fast. And I have a group of friends who time is moving fast for them, because if you look at their calendar, it's no break.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's not really what I'm talking about. You're busy. You're in it.
Yeah.
But it's like when you look up. So I'll give you a good example. I was driving to work, and there's like 4 different ways to drive to work where I go. I have a 67-mile commute because traffic's terrible. And I was taking the same way for about a week. And at the end of that week, what I realized is I was essentially just teleporting to work.
You weren't present.
I wasn't present.
Yeah.
There was nothing there that happened in between that start and that end of that journey. And so time seemed real fast, but it wasn't. I was just fucking wasting it. And it's like, well, how often are we doing this, and where are we doing this, and is it just me? And I started talking to my friends. I was like, no, time is moving fast. I was like, really? And we started talking about it. I was like, oh, shit. It's like, it's not moving fast.
Yeah.
I'm not paying attention. And so it's kind of been like the, I don't know, random thought that has got me kicked off right now. Every time find myself drifting off, you know, like even on the drive down here a couple times, I kind of like spaced out. And I'm like, yeah, man, like you should be here right now. One, you're driving a 2,000-pound missile.
Yeah. Kind of important.
Yeah, it's kind of important. Like, two, we don't get an expiration date.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing on this thing that says like, hey man, April 1st, 2062. You know, so like, side note, in my new gig, I'm learning how to code. I'm not a computer guy.
Yeah.
If you can't tell. But the first little piece of code that I've written, or the first little program I should say I've written, is it's my 80-year tracker to 80 years old, February 7th, 2062. And so it tells me how many weeks and days I have until 2062, because I'm trying to live till at least 80.
Yeah.
Or give it hell trying. Right?
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that I'm always as present as possible. Because it's like, there's no such thing as balance to me. As a guy who wants more.
Yeah.
I want more travel. I want more trips. I want more time with my kids. I want more time with my lover. I want more time, more, right? And not in some way where I'm like trying to be greedy, but just, there is no expiration date. I don't get it tomorrow. It's a fictional idea.
Yeah.
And so not being present or having that time zip by because blah.
Yeah.
You know? And not to get too morbid or whatever.
I love it.
Yeah, but this is me. So, you know, over the course of the last, I think I redeployed to Afghanistan and Iraq in January 2018 is when I started going back downrange. I think we buried 16 special operations guys over that course, over that course of time. And I'm sitting in a restaurant in the Canary Islands, which is weird in itself. Like, how did I get there? But anyways, I'm sitting there. I don't really drink, but I'm having some glasses of wine. And I think, and it dawns on me, I'm like, yo, like these guys, the ones I know, the ones I don't know, doesn't matter. They don't get this experience anymore.
Nope.
And I'm not saying like, oh, go live your life for them or whatever. But what I am saying is like, holy shit. I don't think any of them woke up that day and were like, this is it. And what I would like for myself, my friends, and everybody I kind of come across is that whether it's today or tomorrow or February 7th, 2062, I am completely empty.
Yep.
You know, every regret I have, I've earned. And yeah, it's just, I just want that for myself and the people around me. Because I've seen it where somebody is, they're at the end of their rope, and the only thing that they want is more.
Yeah.
And they don't get it.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully I'll still want more at the end of my rope, but hopefully I'll be able to be like, it's a good fucking run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah, do it again.
Yeah.
That's all I can ask for.
Dude, I share those same thoughts. I love the name of the book, On Borrowed Time, because I talk about that frequently, which is like, we're not guaranteed anything. I love Stoic philosophy and that principle of like to regularly practice meditating on death, and not in the way of like what a lot of people think. Like a lot of people look at it as like, all right, if I knew that I wasn't going to make it past this week, well, what would you do? Well, I'd take off the headphones and go spend time with my family, right? And that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, if you're not guaranteed anything, does it make you more present to this moment? If I take this conversation with that I'm not guaranteed to see you in St. Louis again for whatever reason, does it make this more meaningful and special? Yes. I want that. I want to be fully present to the moment that I'm in, because if I'm not guaranteed it, and I've already feel like I'm on borrowed time because of look at all this other stuff that's already happened that I probably shouldn't be here through, then it allows you to truly appreciate what's right in front of you, rather than getting caught up in the next, because even this opportunity is a wonderful gift. And then when and if another opportunity comes up, it's even better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that just lends itself to the again, like, I look at it like that so I can look at this for what it is, which is in this moment, I am here.
Yeah.
You know, there's it's a real innocuous part of the book, The Alchemist. Like, no one really
read that
picked
one yet. Yeah.
It's I read 2 books every year. And one's The Alchemist, because I think everybody, especially adults, need to remember how to dream. And the other one I read is Endurance, about Shackleton, because DBAB, don't be a bitch.
Yeah.
And I think you should remember that as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's a part in The Alchemist where the guy's talking about marching. And he was like, when I'm marching, I'm my most happy. Because when I'm marching, I'm neither in the past nor in the future. The only thing I can do is be here now. And so for me, it's like a circle, right? Like, if I remember I'm not promised tomorrow, then hopefully I can remember that right here is where I need to be. I have a friend, you know, and text me every now and then, and they'll literally just be like, be here now. Vanish.
That's it.
That's it. That's it. I love it, because it's like, oh yeah, you're right. You know? Because no matter how much, like, it's tattooed on my side, man. It's like, I'll still forget. We all still forget. And so I just try and keep reinforcing it, and then keep trying to tell my friends, because then they live that way, and then that helps me live that way. And it just becomes a giant circle. And then I'll have a text message thread with you and Elliot now. And it just keeps, you know, reinforcing. Like I said, for me, at the end of the day, like, the gift I want to give is that my friends are regretless, or they've earned the regrets that they have. And that we can, you know, hopefully have some of those memories and experiences together, because I mean, that's what I'm in it for at this point. You know, I want to be able to build great memories and experiences with the friends and people I have, and those memories and experiences where it's like, I remember when you were not well. So
that's been one big takeaway for me from you, is just that, and I'm sure it came from somewhere, but just that, like, I want to earn my regrets kind of a thing. Like, we're gonna have regrets no matter what. I don't want my regrets to be about the things that I didn't do or didn't try.
Or you half-assed it.
Right? I didn't go all in.
Like, it's one of the things that actually made Matt and I real good friends, is like, we both have a pet peeve for the people who show up and you're like, well, I didn't really train for this. I'm like, well,
why would you do that?
Why are you here then? Like, there's somebody, right? And I'm more of, this is kind of how I work. And I don't like comparison, but I do try and remember that, like, there's somebody right now who wanted that.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, as I was joining the Army, and actually I haven't thought about this in a while, man, but it comes up every now and then. There was a guy that my dad taught at his high school who all he wanted to do was be a soldier.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that was his thing.
Yeah.
And here I am just kind of cruising into it.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I'm going to go be a soldier. Physical done, like, no health problems, no issues, on the basic training. And this guy is fighting everything he can to go be a soldier. Asthma. How do I beat that? And he couldn't do it. And I think he ended up being a firefighter.
Yeah.
But the dude, and I was like, I'll never forget looking at it like, holy shit. And I was like, I'm taking this for granted. And I'm not a very grateful person anyways. Like, it's one of those things I've had to cultivate, like really cultivate. But like, every now and then I'll look at it like that and I'll hear somebody say something like, oh, I didn't really train for this. And I'm like, you hear Matt, like, I think Matt is okay with the fact that he doesn't train anymore. Yeah. But I think there's also the reality that, like, having his knee gone early wasn't exactly his plan and wasn't fun.
Yeah.
So I'm sure at some point in time he would have traded.
Yeah.
And it's like,
sure.
And here you are showing up like, I didn't really train for this.
Yeah.
And that's,
Well, there's no doubt in Matt's life that he is all in on every single thing that he does. That's for sure.
Man. I think that's from him, Brandon, and all the guys that I want to surround myself with more is just that. The name of our podcast, Completely Unreasonable Show.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite people in the world.
Yeah.
Just unreasonable. I don't want to listen to you. I don't care what you have to say, that this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we look at it, right, like, not everyone, but a lot of people who've changed the course of history, that's what they were.
Oh, absolutely.
I was just listening to a story recently about Roger Bannister.
Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar.
He's the guy who broke the first guy to run a 4-minute mile.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't realize how much shit he caught. I just heard the story, like, Roger Bannister wanted to run a 4-minute mile. He figured it out with some formula or whatever, and then practiced and did it.
Yeah.
But apparently everybody was like,
you can't.
Yeah, not just you can't, but like angry at this guy.
Like, for even saying that, like,
you
can't.
How dare you?
Yeah.
And it's just like, why would? It's like when we talked to Elliot, like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's like my favorite new answer.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Why wouldn't you do that? And it's like, I want to surround myself with more people who, when I say something ridiculous, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
Let's figure out how.
Sounds fun. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, man. Dude, I could talk to you forever. I really appreciate you taking time to be here right now with me, bringing your friends along. You had a busy weekend. You got a long drive home. Thank you very much. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate getting to connect with you, and I look forward to many more opportunities in the future. So keep me posted.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. What if people hear this and they want to be able to connect with you, tell me your Instagram handle, website, all that stuff.
A Traveling Man on Instagram, website, and right now I'm going to go turn this thing back on. wearewarpath.com.
Yeah.
And the blog is Act Accordingly. So the website's down right now, but hopefully by the time this is released, it'll be back up.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
I'm glad we got to share some time and space. No phones.
No phones.
And just talk.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, you know where to find us. We're on Instagram at Cole Wellness. Our website has all of our therapy podcasts, all the practitioners that work here. We're on Facebook. This will be posted on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, the whole 9 yards. Probably a couple weeks because we're in a couple months ahead. But anyways, thank you very much. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, family, for giving me time today. Thank you, friends, for joining us. And we'll holler at you soon.